Now, yesterday we spoke to UDM leader Bantu Olomisa. He's written to the SIU and Hawks asking these institutions to investigate the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. It follows allegations of dubious dealings. Now, according to the letter written by Olomisa, NSFAS paid 2 million rand a month to rent office space while not occupying the premises from December 2021 to September 2022. Now, this totaled almost 20 million rand, yet some students are unable to get funding, as we've just heard with the Tuks University students. Let's get some response now to these allegations from NSFAS spokesperson Slumezi Skosana. Mr. Skosana, good morning and thank you very much for your time. I'm sure you've also seen that letter authored by the UDM's Bantu Olomisa to law enforcement on the allegations brought by a whistleblower. Can you just take us through the reasoning? Why did NSFAS need to move from a building that cost 500,000 firstly to a one that costs around 1.9 million?
Thank you very much, Mfundo, and the listeners at home. I've got to put a perspective on that issue because there's no truth to that. You are correct. I did see the communication or the letter that the general wrote, but there's no truth to that. Yes, what happened is that we did move from our premises in Wynberg, to the city center, because you must remember we are a service-oriented organization, and we had to be closer to our stakeholders so that we can be accessible. So that was the main reasoning behind that, because where we were previously, it was a place that, in a way, threatened the security and the safety of our staff members, and it was not accessible to our the stakeholders at all.
All right.
So the movement from the periphery of the city to the city is fully justified. And not only that, we did do due diligence on what needed to be done by us as a company and as per strategic plan of our company. So it was within the plan of a forward-looking company to do so.
So you wanted to be at a more central location, which was easily accessible to students. Then the other allegation is you started paying for the new building in 2021 around December, but only moved in September of 2022, which works out to around 19 million wasted. Is this in fact the case?
Mfundo, as I came to this interview, I was wondering who would, just go around collecting invoices and letters and memos of a professional company like NSFAS is, and concoct, or fabricate stories and allegations about what happened in the move. That is not true. When we took occupation of the property, it was done so properly. And it was done, as you correctly pointed out, December 2021. And whoever concocted this story did not have is the information that we took occupation of the place and started using it, but it needed to be retrofitted. It needed to be retrofitted and prepared, for us, to move in. So our move into the new premises was phased in. And then somebody just decided to say that we did not move in and we were paying for premises that we were not occupying. We occupied the premises, but as you may know, to move an organization, like ours, with a multiplicity of staff complements or staff members, it's not like moving household. There's technology to be moved, there's furniture, there's equipment and all that. So our movement into the new premises was phased in. We had to bring in certain units as and when certain parts of the building were ready.
Okay, so the allegations are not entirely incorrect, they're not entirely false, but you're saying there is an explanation as to why you wouldn't have had, or you wouldn't have been able to move in immediately because there needed to be renovations.
Correct from that point of view. We needed, because we found the building not in a state of readiness. And any building that is occupied, you would have your tenant installation. So as we were facing in the tenant installation, we also had to, start bringing in different units of an organization as big as ours. So what also maybe the general may not have been given as by way of information is that the first 2 months we were given a rental holiday. And then the third month we paid 50%. And then from the fourth month onward, we paid what was agreed on as per lease agreement.
Okay, so by the third month, when you started paying 50%, were there in fact individuals from your office that were already stationed there and working from there, at the very least?
Correct. There were individuals working there.
Mm-hmm.
As
so
I'm saying, the allegation is unfounded.
Mm-hmm. So then now perhaps the allegation also that many of the offices remain unused in that building, you would say, can be explained by the fact that you were still moving in phases up until September of 2022.
Correct. Yes, look, Mfundo, we are a professional company with a clear strategic plan. We're working within the 2020-2025 strategic plan. And in terms of that plan, we factored in the movement from where we were to where we are. And in terms of that strategic plan, we also made provision for growth. Remember, as an organization, we are currently having on our beneficiary list or our funded students about 1,020,000 students. And the infrastructure necessary to administrate such a fund must be athletic. It must be efficient. So in our efforts to try and move to premises that would afford us, the capacity and the capability to carry out our mandate, we then are accused of not forward planning.
Mm-hmm. The quantum for those concerned about the significant increase, you were 500,000 per month. You are now close to 2 million per month. Has there been an addition within NSFAS insofar as the employees are concerned, or what else was coming with that 2 million, or what is coming with it?
Look, it would be unfair, I'll be unfair to myself to try and determine what prices per square meters, Cape Town would charge. If my only prerogative and strategic goal is to make sure that I service my clients and stakeholders who are the students, and I need to be in the city. I am not the one to go and determine that the price per square meter in Cape Town should be X amount of money because I'm moving from the periphery to be closer to my stakeholders. But like I indicated, we are a growing company, and so in order for us to be able to meet this growing requirement of servicing our stakeholders, we have to operate from an infrastructure that can do that. And we have to operate from premises that can do that.
Mm-hmm. But one assumes that financial prudence would be top of mind in most instances, particularly because you are servicing a cohort that unfortunately has very little, and in some instances there are a great number of South Africans who need assistance from you. So one would always assume that where you can save, you'll most certainly try to save, even with the buildings that you choose to house this outfit.
Correct, but you see, things just get out of hand when they're out of context. You're talking here about an entity, a Schedule 3 entity that has got a budget of 47.6 billion, per annum. That must be administered. You're talking here about an entity that is pouring into the South African economy a skilled workforce every year. Actually, when you look at what we are spending in trying to achieve that objectives, it's not significant.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Skosana, just one last question in closing. We were just speaking to the SRC of the University of Pretoria. There are young students who are protesting because they've got an issue now where the cap, the 45,000 that is being offered for accommodation, doesn't suffice in a place such as Hatfield. Most of the accommodation there is around 6,000, working out to 65,000, 70,000 per annum. They've got a situation where they requested the university that at the very least, can you deregister those particular buildings to ensure that they no longer are accredited to be the ones that house students? Perhaps that would force their hand to reduce the price. They said the university has not agreed to this. Is there anything that NSFAS would be able to do in this instance for those particular students, because Hatfield is a bit pricier than perhaps your sunny side?
Correct. No, we're working on that. As I'm speaking to you right now, there's a team out there discussing that very same issue of the cap. And in fact, a communication from universities, I don't know whether I'm at liberty to mention them, came through to NSFAS, highlighting that as a little bit of a bottleneck, in that there are already student accommodation establishments closer to the universities that per annum would require more than the cap that NSFAS is able to pay. But we're working on that. I cannot comment on it right now because our team is in meetings as I'm talking to you now.
But most certainly comforting that you already are aware of that situation. Mrs. Skosana, thank you very much for your time this morning. That's NSFAS spokesperson Slumezi Skosana.